and alert to the news of the day. By all of society's measuring sticks, they should have been among the best and brightest and most optimistic, the bedrock of an enlightened spiritual community. They should have been confident, but they were not. In fact, they were just the opposite. They were worried. The depth and nature of their worry was revealed in how they responded when I asked them to name one institution, one public system in our culture in which they still had complete confidence. Would that be in our educational system? I asked. The room was silent. Our political system? Silence. Our judicial system? Silence. Our healthcare system? Silence. How about our religious institutions? Surely we still have confidence there. More silence. As we looked at each other in the silence, we understood something profound. We are a generation that no longer believes things work. We no longer take it for granted that any of the social systems on which we depend to sustain a healthy community can continue to do so. In this darkness, we are beset by questions that make us uncertain. Can we live together in peace when we disagree? Can we accept the idea that change and tradition are not mutually exclusive? Can we realize that diversity is an innate human characteristic? Can we understand that our ecosystem is a survival pod with limited range and resources? Can we learn that having more for the few is not as important as having enough for the many? The questions become a world of shadows and fears. I do not believe the people in the New England parish are alone in their doubts. Any reasonable look at American culture today would verify a pervasive unease about the path our society is taking. It does not matter whether we label ourselves conservative or progressive. The reality we share means many of us are losing confidence. We are worried. The ground seems to be shifting beneath our feet. We no longer rely on the institutions we once felt were our firm foundation. We are afraid, and we are looking for a way out of the darkness and into light. This book is a ladder into that light. Each rung of the ladder, each chapter of this book is a spiritual vision. Altogether, there are 8 rungs to climb, starting with the first step in our spiritual understanding and ending with the final rung that takes us to freedom. The substance of these visions began long ago, far from New England, far from the Kiva, out in the open sky country of rural Oklahoma, where I was born into an extended Native American family. As a 4-year-old, I would sit with my great-grandfather beneath the star-filled sky as he told me stories from my ancestors and stories from the Bible. When I asked why he was telling me these stories, he said, "Because one day you are going to be a Piliche Shilombish, a spirit guide, and you need to know how things really work so you can help others find their way." Maybe it was that upbringing in Native American tradition, or maybe it is just my own nature as a spiritual seeker, but for more than 70 years, I have tried to be open to the Spirit's messages. I have been a listener. I have been a collector of visions. I have been a guide along the spirit paths my ancestors first discovered so long ago. Then, about a decade ago, I began receiving the sacred story in a different way, one I could neither have imagined nor predicted when I was a little boy. I discovered this path by accident. It began in an unlikely exchange between my ancient traditions and one of the most common technologies of our current reality, social media. Some people who knew me wanted me to join them on Facebook, but I did not want to be on social media. They persisted, saying I needed to catch up to the rest of the world in technology. Finally, I relented, but after I had been cajoled into it, I had no idea what to post. By nature, I am an introvert. I am not good at making small talk. And if you are familiar with Facebook, you will understand when I say I have no pictures of cats to share. Once I had created my account, I stared at the blank screen, wondering what to write. I did not think my life was all that interesting, so I decided to simply write down whatever came into my mind each morning after my prayers. Day after day, morning after morning, I say my prayers, outside, if weather permits, in a traditional Native American way. I start by acknowledging the 4 sacred directions that encompass my life in the holy geometry of creation. Then I acknowledge the earth beneath me and the sky above me, and finally I speak to the Spirit in humility and remain silent to hear what reply comes into my heart. It is these replies, these brief messages from the Spirit, that I decided to share on Facebook. For over 10 years, I have been posting them. At first, only a handful of people noticed. Now, thousands of people read them daily. This still amazes me. I would never have thought of connecting Native American tradition to Facebook, but it has happened because while I am the writer of these words, I am not necessarily their author. I believe a spirit inspires what I write, not because the language is so eloquent or the meaning so profound.